one position that the Bengals are settled at, but they are not settled at the backup spot. They did not re-sign Brandon Allen, and they brought in Trevor Siemian for a visit, but that did not materialize into anything. And so, John, the Bengals had a pre-draft visit with a very versatile, athletic, and exciting quarterback prospect here. And yes, I went University of Cincinnati last week with the prospect profile. So yes, I am going back. I'm going back to the Pac-12. There's a lot of Pac-12 guys that intrigue me this year. I mean, I know sometimes I reach for some, but there's a lot of guys that kind of intrigue me this year from the Pac-12 because really the Trojans were good last year. The Bruins have been good the past couple of years, and this guy is a major reason why. Quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a dual threat guy, but a guy that has shown a lot of progress under Chip Kelly, which is both promising and I guess for some it may be a little concerning in some ways because it's like, how much is that the system and the coach? And we'll talk about that because I've got some clips and everything. And I got to tell you, man, his clips are fun. And here's Albert Breer reporting it. This is on CincyJungle.com. The Bengals are hosting UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a top 30 visit today/tomorrow. They want to probably go, and this is where that guy would go, day 3 as a backup, QB2, QB3, depending on the development that he shows early. And you would hope that the development would come early, would be shown early, John, because he is a fifth-year guy. He's a fifth-year redshirt senior, a guy who has started in games in all 5 years for the Bruins. And again, the things he has done the last couple of years have been really short of remarkable. I think what he has shown has been really, really awesome stuff. Here he is right here. We'll go full screen on this bad boy. UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And why are we talking about quarterbacks? Well, I just told you. Because the Bengals hosted him for a visit. 6'2", 203 was the recent weigh-in. He is 23, turns 24 in the middle of the season. He's a senior, a redshirt senior from South Carolina. A lot of athleticism and a lot of cool things on tape that you can see from this guy, and we'll get to that in just a second. Had a good 40 time. I think it was 4.56. That'll come on in just a second here. 4.56 40 time. And over 10,000 career passing yards, close to 11,000, as a matter of fact, close to 3,200 of those last year, 88 passing touchdowns in his career, 27 last year, a 63.3% completion percentage in his career, close to 70% last year, which is awesome. 157.4 rating last year, 145.6 in his career, 36 interceptions, just 10 last year, 1,800 yards plus on the ground in his career, 645 of those last year. And so you look at stuff, John, and here's the thing that that's a wow. 37 total touchdowns and over 10,000 passing yards. Here, look at this play. Just strike down the middle. Here's Dulcich time, by the way. You want to know why he went higher than a lot of people thought. That's why. Nice. So what I've seen on the high arcing balls, sometimes has a little bit of an underthrow tendency. You see here, back foot, that guy was just wide open, so it kind of floats a little bit. But some of the balls zing across the middle. Look at that throw. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Granted, that guy was wide open, but this is another nice one. A little underthrown, but you can see zip across the middle, gets over the couple first lines of defense. This guy carries it into the end zone for a nice score here. This is another one, zip through defenders in stride. That's just a hell of a throw right there. But there's a trend you see here, John. RPO, 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 RPO. Nice play to Dulcich again. Great throw, although he was wide open, and great play by him. Look at this. So, a lot of this stuff comes out of RPO. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you're the Bengals, because the Bengals have run a number of RPO plays. By the way, this play is incredible. It just breaks about 4 different – I think this is against Bowling Green. Breaks about 4 different tackles and takes it, 60, 70 yards for a running score. This is an awesome play here, too, where shows the leaping ability and whatnot. We'll talk about his RAS. Look at that. Wow. Woo! Yeah. And then this one, we've got another little leap for you right there. That one's pretty awesome for a first down. Yeah. So you look at this here. Here's the RAS, a little lower than you think, but it's mostly because of his size. You look at the elite speed grade, great composite explosion grade, and you see the broad jump and the vertical jump, broad jump over 10 feet. That's awesome for a quarterback. Poor agility grade, which is a little, that's kind of the lateral movement stuff and different things like that. So elusiveness in the pocket. He can dodge guys that are coming after him. He is awesome on the RPO plays, particularly the ones that have the line drive throws in the intermediate areas. You saw some of those zip plays across the middle. He's got the speed and athleticism. That's not a question. Again, solid and short and intermediate passes. He is inconsistent on those high arching deep throws. Nice spelling error by me right there. Huge improvement with age and high end coaching. So again, the last 2 years, he's shown a lot of great improvement as both a runner and a passer, decision making, confidence in the pocket and doing things like that. But is he going to need elite coaching to be a successful QB2 at the next level? And so again, best scheme fit as well is a question for you. But man, you see the athleticism, you saw the nice jumps over guys and big plays. The zip balls across the middle. That's what kind of surprised me as I went back. I saw a lot of this guy over the last couple of years, but those zip balls across the middle, I obviously remembered him from, a couple nice passes, but running the ball really well and being an effective dual weapon. Some of those intermediate passes off RPO were things that I found to be really, really impressive with this kid.
So he's got an arm and he's got legs, which makes him the opposite of Brandon Allen, essentially, which is totally fine for me. Like, I feel like a lot of fans kind of carry the sentiment. I think we're seeing some of the comments like, it doesn't matter who the backup is because he's not Joe Burrow. 100%, right? It was whoever the Colts coach was back in the day when they said that, like, they don't practice without Peyton Manning because we don't practice effed, essentially, right? So yeah, if a backup quarterback isn't for Joe Burrow, it ultimately doesn't matter in the long run. But if, God forbid, there's a game, there's like a half where they have to play without Joe Burrow, I think you do want someone with more upside and just more unpredictability and just allows you to do more to potentially win a game in a pinch surrounded by a great team. Now, you can try your best to just complement a guy like Brandon Allen who's limited and needs to have a perfect pocket and needs to throw off a perfect base and everything to keep on schedule. But I think with Thompson-Robinson, like, he can create out of structure and he can create on his own, and he can provide you that spark if you need a win in like the last quarter or two. Now, again, this is a lot of praise, I guess, for a quarterback who's not going to be drafted very high in the draft, but I think it did him a lot of favors to stay in school for as long as possible because you did see that growth with not only his production, but I think in his game as well. I think he might have to work on his throw motion a little bit. I think he might have to tighten that up just a little bit. But again, as a backup, he will have plenty of time to kind of develop all those mechanics and everything. But I think it's good that the Bengals are showing interest in quarterbacks, not only who are young that can develop under Burrow, but just provide different things and better things than a guy like Brandon Allen or even Jake Browning can provide.
There's two schools of thought with this. Of course, you'd like to have someone. There's not a carbon copy of Joe Burrow out there. If there was, every team would be clamoring for one. But, what I mean by that is, someone that resembles a little bit of the skill set where there's just enough nimbleness in the pocket and, you can have a high level of accuracy potentially. And I think that's kind of what drew the Bengals a little bit to Trevor Siemian in some ways. He can move around the pocket and has shown the ability to be accurate at the next level. And there's also, not that, this kid's DTR is, a complete opposite of Joe Burrow because he runs the RPO stuff. Burrow moves better and gets more rushing yards than a lot of people give him credit for. So, there's kind of some similarities there as well. I think even with the close to 70% completion percentage by DTR this year, I think, that Burrow's just known as highly accurate, pinpoint accurate, that sort of thing. I don't want to say that he's not pinpoint accurate, but I wouldn't say that's the absolute strongest asset of his. But to your point, John, you said, you want a guy who has some upside potentially if there's a, holy crap moment where you got to have a guy in there to come in there and try and keep the ship afloat. let's say Joe Burrow just misses, a series, a quarter, but comes back. What this kid provides is, even if he's not, especially early, if he's not so comfortable in a system, or man, I don't know if I can go through 3 progressions right now as I'm a rookie, whatever. He can still, with athleticism and with different elements that he brings to the table, that zip ball across the middle that he can throw, I think he can still kind of keep a defense a little bit on its heels, even for a brief moment of time in a game, and move the football down the field if the Bengals need that. Now, again, we're talking about a contingency plan that nobody wants to ever have the team to ever use. But again, contingency plans are in place for a reason. And so the Bengals have been exploring these options. And if, God forbid, there is some sort of issue where Burrow has to miss some time, maybe the upside, the athleticism, and the dual threat that this kid brings is something that would intrigue them enough that they feel they can, develop and have a good QB2 on their roster.
When would you take him? Like, are you considering taking a quarterback just with 7 picks, or would you prefer if you traded back and like picked up an extra 5th or 6th or something?
In an ideal world, I think you'd want an extra pick to be able to be like, hey, and then we can use one of these. He's going to go day 3 is my opinion here. I don't think there's any question about that. I don't think he's. I think it's probably going to be like a round 5 type of situation. That's kind of where I see it. I think teams will look at, not only the last 2 years of work, but the athletic profile of this kid and be like, there are tools here. There are a lot of tools here to work with. And is he ready to start for an NFL team tomorrow? Maybe not. But I think he's a guy that I think he's wherever he goes, you're going to see this kid in the preseason games because he'll get a lot of work, and you'll be like, wow, this guy's just shredding teams in preseason. That won't translate necessarily right away to the regular season, but I think you'll see things early from him that'll be like, wow, this kid's got skills. And so I it's kind of a little bit of the situation with punter for the Bengals too, right? Where it's like, well, do you really want to use a pick on a backup quarterback or a punter or what have you? I mean, it kind of depends on where the other pieces fall, where the board falls, and all of that. Ideally, again, you'd want to get another pick or 2 by trading somebody or trading back, that sort of thing. But the more I think about this, it would not surprise me if the Bengals say on day 3, we want a developmental guy that we want to work behind Joe Burrow as a backup.
You know what? DTR, Jake Browning, Pac-12 battle to carry Joe Burrow's Microsoft Surface. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I know it's probably not the sexiest topic, talking backup quarterback, and I guess that where the Bengals are in such an enviable position that they don't need to necessarily talk about all the top end quarterback prospects in a class. But again, you need to round out your roster, and you need to get the most talented players possible, be it at a backup position, rotational player, what have you. And this kid provides a lot of upside for sure.
Oof. So, I mean, there's him, there's Clayton Tune, there's, I think, Aiden O'Connell that they met with previously, the quarterback out of Purdue. So it's a very real thing, and I feel like this has been not talked about enough. Just the fact that Burrow is entering now his 2nd contract, and, Brandon Allen was entering his 3rd. It just makes a lot of sense to actually start developing a quarterback. I believe they took A.J. McCarron in the 5th round the year after Andy Dalton signed his extension. So You got to look at these trends, man, and it does add up.